Hi, and welcome to another edition of Speak Up Presents. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Performing Arts Center and where they're at right now with so many things going on there. And we're very fortunate to have with us Judi, Lisi, who's welcome, and I'm so glad that you could make it tonight.
Oh, thanks.
Who's the executive director and president of the Performing Arts Center. And we have Wendy, Leigh. Welcome. I'm glad
Hi.
you're here. And you're the executive director of the Patel Conservatory at the center. And Michael Kilgore, welcome. Glad you could be here, the VP of Marketing for the center. So there's so much going on there. Why don't we focus first on the conservatory, just because I know that's the latest, greatest thing. What's going on?
Well, it's hopping every minute. It's almost virtually open
I
7
thought they were
days
just
a
doing
week.
dance, no hop. But, no, they're doing
Hip-hop, it's
Okay,
hip-hop,
hip-hop,
that's what
all right.
it is, yeah. But we are doing dance. We have the classical ballet training program as well as hip-hop and dance samplers for preschoolers and grade schoolers right on up through adults. So we have classes, as I said, almost 7 days a week. We just added a Sunday class of Indian percussion, so.
You're having children, young adults, and adults, right? Older people.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, 50% of our classes are held for adults. About 20 classes, is that what you counted up?
That's right.
Yeah. So it's really exciting. We've got like 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, all the way up to a 78-year-old was our oldest one.
That's
So-
fantastic.
It is.
2-year-olds.
Taking stand-up.
It's taking stand-up comedy, yes.
Not the 2-year-old, the
No, not the
78-year-old.
The 2-year-old can't
Two-year-olds
stand.
automatically
Yeah,
do
right.
stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
That's
just
true.
more fun than anything. Judy, what's going on there? So many things.
Well, it's a real exciting time for the Performing Arts Center, and I think for Tampa, too. I think Tampa is really just about to explode. I know we've said that in the arts, but
We've been saying that for 30 years already. What are you
well,
talking about?
and in terms of the Performing Arts Center, it really is. You know, last year alone, we had 727 performances in our 5 theaters. That means a curtain went up 727 times.
Now,
and
you're
people
on
in the
a, you're
audience.
rated, or Performing Arts Centers are rated. Is that, where does that fit into
We're
the
like
world?
number 7th in the country. Carol Morsani Hall is number 2 in the country in terms of attendance, and the Performing Arts Center as a whole is number 9 in the world in terms
How
of
does that happen,
attendance.
that they're number 2 and the whole center's 9?
Well,
Oh,
Carol
you just go
Morsani
by-
is just one venue. We have 5 theaters, and Carol Morsani Hall is our largest venue.
So they rate them according to each one of the venues that you have inside the
Yes.
facility.
Yeah, well, they do the larger ones. The smaller ones, they really don't measure. But for theaters that are 5,000 seats or under in the United States, we're number 2.
That's phenomenal.
And number 1 is Celine Dion at the MGM in Las Vegas because she has like 20 shows a week. So
We're taking her down next.
And shoot, what is it, $175 to go, I think, the last time I was out
yeah,
there.
to
isn't
Celine
it?
Dion. That's
Just
right.
crazy as can be,
That's
right?
And the whole Performing Arts Center is 9th in the world.
That's
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
How old is the Performing Arts Center now?
We're in our 18th year, and it opened in 1987 with 3 theaters. We opened another theater when Wendy came down. We converted a studio space into another theater. And then when the new Patel Conservatory opened last year, we have another theater now at the Tico Hall. That's part of the conservatory. So there's a total of 5 theaters, which is really tremendous, and it really puts Tampa on the cultural landscape in America.
Well, it certainly does. Michael, catch us up on what's going on as far as you're concerned.
Well, I work with all of these areas, but I think probably one of the most exciting things is what's happening with downtown, with all the new residential places going in. And I think the center, we talk a lot about all the growth and all the things that are coming in for as far as culture and entertainment downtown, but sometimes I think people forget that the center is already there. And so one of the things that I try to do is
Oh, we wouldn't
encourage.
have gotten those condos without the center already. did
Well,
We think so.
we try to
Well,
encourage.
wait, you think I'm kidding?
That's true.
Well, they do market that. If you look at their advertising, they talk about being within walking distance of the Tampa Theater and of the Performing Arts Center. It is a big
They don't say
advantage.
anything about the federal courthouse, in other words.
I'm hoping those folks are
Not
going to.
yet.
But you know, building on strength is very important, and that's one of the things that we're encouraging the city to look at is use us because what we've done has been very successful, especially since Judi came in 1992. The center's been-
Nothing's been better than since Judi came.
but it's been very successful, and I think we're a model for what other organizations can do. And we're also working with the city on their branding program that they're coming up with, and on this whole creation of an arts and entertainment district. I mean, it's an idea whose time has come, and I think we can be a real cornerstone of that. So that's a lot of the stuff that I've been working on over the last year and a half.
With regard to the city, how do you fit into that plan besides like helping them with the thematic thing? I mean, is there more that you're doing that we don't know about?
Tom Stork and I co-chair the branding initiative. So we've been working with the consultants and with the city officials on the branding initiative. That's part of our volunteer part. I mean, it's part of our volunteer efforts.
We're not going to do Tampa. There's a Trump building here.
No.
Okay,
No,
just so
no.
Is there?
Tampa, we're not Orlando.
There can be a Trump.
Yeah, no, nothing like that.
The next great.
I think the idea is to rather than talk about what we're going to become, is to talk about what we are. I think that was what was wrong with America's Next Great City. It seemed too aspirational and not really realistic. I think we have to build on what we have. So I think whatever comes out of this branding initiative, you'll see that it's something that people can believe in and buy into.
And it won't be balmy breezes or anything like that.
No, I don't.
That's my favorite. From all those years of writing magazine articles, when someone says we're going to do something with Tampa, I always think, oh, it's a balmy breeze. You have to start off with a balmy breeze.
And canopies of oaks.
The musical.
Balmy breeze, the story of Tampa.
Have you seen those? Always have canopies of oaks as well in the travel stories.
We don't have any beaches, but it's the balmy breezes,
Right.
right? So we have to make sure that's together. So the future, though, where are we going? Where are you going with all this? Getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger?
Well, we could, if that's where you want to go. Actually, we just completed a new strategic plan for the next 5 years, and the way it's happened, Louise, is really pretty impressive. It's even impressed us, which is our growth. We have about 700,000 people come there a year, and we look at it sometimes, and it's now, how do we manage how we are growing and still keep the core of what we do true to what our mission is, which really is to serve the community and bring in fine, high-quality art, have education programs that really are required and needed and will bring up our next audience and expand young people's view of the world. So we have so many ways that we want to go, including where we're going to continue to get our funding from, because that's always a big thing in the not-for-profit world, as you know very, very well. Because we can do these great programs, but we need to get the funding for them. And I must say the community of Tampa has been really generous, and I think I have seen a real change and growth in the concept of philanthropy here in Tampa, which I think is very exciting, because when people believe in their community and they believe in what you do and they want to support it, there's no end to what's possible. And I think that's why it keeps people like me here and these
Conservatory and
wonderful
the
people.
Patels, right.
That's true. And you find wonderful new philanthropists like the Patels who are making a huge impact, not only on the Performing Arts Center, but on the community. But their first major gift, they really responded to what our message was about how arts can bring people together and transcend cultures, and that was very important to them. So we think our future is boundless. But we are always part of the Tampa community, so the arts in Tampa are very important. It's not just about the Performing Arts Center, it's about, as a community, where we're going with arts and culture.
How do you attract, I just saw recently, I think in your old newspaper, an article about, it could have been there, an article about the attempts to attract young people to, the newspaper or TV programming, because they're not, I think it was about TV programming actually, it said they're not tuning in, and now with the iPods and the walking around with it, and then you can buy it, and their entertainment is so different than going to the theater, which is more of a community event, as you say, than it is just being by yourself at your computer with your iPod.
That's true.
And I know this is true back with, I belong to one of the private clubs in town, and they talked about that a couple of years ago with regard to private clubs, that the younger people coming up, 25 years old, who would normally join a private club to do their entertaining or to bring in clients or impress a girl or whatever it is, weren't doing that anymore. They'd rather go to a club that has a VIP room and you know, a downtown club with a VIP room, and then bring them and entertain them. That was to rethink, how do we attract these folks? How do you do that?
I would say that's the key, really, is rethinking it, because I think what used to happen is that there was a natural progression, whether it was when you started subscribing to a newspaper, when you joined a club. There were certain times of life you could accurately be predicted that you would do that. And I think what has to happen is you rethink that. One of the ways that we do it is start introducing children to theater very early on. We can't depend on the parents necessarily to do that on their own. They may or may not have that habit. So community arts ensemble, the conservatory, things like that. The first experience that a child has or someone has with us shouldn't be when they're 18 or 20 years old trying to buy a ticket to impress someone. It should be when they're 6 or 7 taking a class at the conservatory or attending on school time performance and discovering the magic of live theater, and then developing that habit, that good habit, and coming back. You can't just wait until a certain age and expect it magically to happen, because it won't happen. They won't take the newspaper, they won't join the private club, and they won't come to the theater. We have to rethink what we do.
And I think even more so than just going to the theater is just understanding the importance of creativity in their life and the arts. I mean, that's what we're seeing with the adults, is that, you know, they might have experienced chorus or band growing up in high school, but if they didn't major in it in college, they kind of left it by the wayside. So with the conservatory, they're able to actually experience it firsthand, so they could see it on a stage and then go, I do want to play the guitar again, or I do want to sing, and be able to sign up for a 10-week course. And it's not a huge life commitment, but they can still see the value of the arts and enjoy them.
And I always call it cheap therapy, because I am convinced when people, if they have enjoyed it and they haven't done it for a while, and you pick up that flute again, or you start singing again, or
I've been
you
walking
start
by my
dancing,
piano for about a year now,
It's
saying,
really
what's wrong
true.
with you? Why aren't you sitting there? You know, why aren't I playing you? I'm like too busy with the computer or something going over there. And
But it
you're
makes
right.
you feel good. It really
Oh, my
makes
goodness,
you feel
yes.
good. And we forget that creativity and exploring and finding out what we can do. We're all big children after all. That's really all we are. And it really does make you feel good. Somewhere, you know, when we enter that world of adult, we go through that threshold when we're 21 and we graduate from college. All of a sudden, we're not supposed to, you know, enjoy the fun of being creative. We have to get the job, raise the family. Sure, we do all those things, but that didn't mean our creativity got turned off. We want to turn on that
I
little
see a
knob of
billboard.
creativity.
I see a billboard. Do you see the billboard? He sees the billboard.
But it really
Turn off the day job. Come on down. Performing Arts Center.
But it does, and you see this with our adults down there. They just get a real kick out of it. They're all charged up, and it's the one thing they can look forward to that week when they're coming there. It's better than sitting on a shrink's chair or couch. You're doing something with your body, with your mind, with your heart. You know, so.
True enough.
I think it's
And
great.
you get to see the cycle completed. You get to see a show, but then you get to realize, oh, in a screenwriting class, it starts with words on a page, or it starts with an idea, or a scene, or a moment. So it really, you have the ability to jump in anywhere in the cycle and creativity at the
Chris,
same time.
I've been yelling at the rest of the arts people. I probably don't have to do it with you guys, but you know we're an art here. And they forget that. Oh, they're a TV station. Oh, they're a public access, whatever. But what happens here is, as you can see, we're staffed by volunteers mainly. They're folks that are, you know, doing lighting and camera work and back there in the control rooms and so forth. And they're doing artsy things. And when they do impact of the arts in town, we must be included.
Should be
because
included.
we are.
Absolutely.
This is an art. In fact, I was telling some folks that I went on the Internet Movie Database a couple of months ago, because I just said, you know, I bet a lot of people got their start at their community access stations or public access stations. And I did a search on those words and found hundreds upon hundreds of producers, directors, stage hands, lighting specialists, and so forth, camera people who had begun, and they were of movies, film, and TV programs that we all know. And that's the interesting thing. But where did they start? Back at a community access center. So you're right, you have to start. And then you don't know whether, I mean, you're just talking about enjoyment now, but among those folks, you can have someone who will become some star on Broadway someday.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because at the conservatory we don't teach just on camera but also behind camera skills, not only on stage but backstage. So it's both in front and behind because it takes all of that, and in fact we even teach how to be a better audience member because that's an art as well.
How do you become a better audience member? I know in Tampa, one of the things that annoys me as a New Yorker is please don't clap yet. I want it. Can you just put up a sign?
I love that about
Don't
Tampa.
clap. They do. They'll clap.
And I have to tell you,
they're
I
the
like
best
you,
audience
New
in
Yorker.
the universe.
They are a great audience, and I have to tell you, they get better
But I want
performances.
them to wait till I finish that
Well,
moment,
look, you're
please.
talking to former
Okay, go ahead.
actors here.
Okay.
When you're on that stage
You
and
don't
that
care.
audience gives you that back,
That's what you live
you're going
for.
to give them that much more because they're
You
with
think so?
you.
It's spontaneous.
I know it. It is. They're not stuck with those conventions that you're not supposed to clap between movements. When you're watching the orchestra, if they like something, they're going to clap for it, and it should be spontaneous. We
You
shouldn't
think
be
that?
we shouldn't be stuck with conventions. Absolutely.
Now, candy wrappers I don't like.
Yeah, as far-
phones.
being-
But I've actually been in performances where you absolutely couldn't clap. You were so moved.
And that's
That
different
happens too.
stories.
That's
I mean,
Absolutely.
you're just stunned, or
But, you
a
know, we had-
voice or a violin or a something, and it just totally knocked you off your feet.
We've had dance performances where people just jump to their feet because they could not contain themselves, and I think that's beautiful if that happens.
Yeah. Or if you're so moved that you're just stunned. Either way, they're reacting to what's happening on stage, and they feel comfortable reacting. And I think that's what's great about Tampa, that they
Well,
are
how
comfortable
do you
reacting.
teach a person to be an audience member?
Well, we did a couple ways. We have a website, for example, where we do Audience 101, and we tell people how to dress, which is be comfortable. We tell people when to clap, which is when you feel like it. We try to take some of the mystique out of it because we found that people sometimes are a little bit intimidated. We have
Okay.
this beautiful building, and these art forms that perhaps some of them weren't familiar with. So we try to take at least some of that mystery out of it, the mystery of attending. Some of the mystery on stage we like to leave, but the mystery of attending we try to take out. We had 600 children come to see Grand Opera at the dress rehearsal, and they were thrilled because they didn't have any idea how they were supposed to act. They just came and watched and listened, and it was beautiful. It's a great thing. So we try to tell people that they can feel comfortable. This is not an elitist thing that we're doing.
That's when you should hear opera, though, when you're a little kid.
Oh, yeah, because they have no conception that opera is something that they don't understand or that they shouldn't like. They go in and they eat it up. They love it.
It's a spectacle for
It's
them.
a spectacle. My favorite thing about opera, and I'm a big opera lover, and
I
we
know.
started an opera company here, is when people will say, well, I said, are you coming to the opera? And they'll say, well, no, I don't like opera. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, tell me. I said, you must have had a disappointing experience. What opera did you go see? And, well, I've never been to an opera, but I know I don't like the opera. And I said, well, I'll tell you, come as my guest. You don't have to buy a ticket. If you like it, you pay me. If you don't like it, you don't have to. And I really think it's just that. If you get them when they're young, it's just another performance. It's this conception that people have of particular art forms is just not true.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
But of course, growing up Italian, you
Well,
kind of
that's
don't
right.
have
I
much
never
of-
thought it was elitist. I just thought it's what you do.
The heck? I
It's
mean,
part of life.
It's part of life, and not only that, it wasn't like we were having meat 3 times a day. So
No.
forget elitist. It was
No.
more. It was for everyone. It was from
That's
the
right.
peasant on up. I mean, right? It was the world. So we were very, very used to that. But okay, so now you've got this with the audience, and you're bringing them in, and you're getting them to go to opera. What else are you trying to do to get
And
some
our
more?
operas are
I mean,
selling out.
you changed so much from when you first got over there in terms of putting the kinds of programming that we have on there that's less intimidating all the way around.
Well, I think that how we look at it is that we don't have one audience out there. We have many different audiences. There are many different people who like different things. So it's a matter of trying. There's no science to how you program. It's trying to figure out who is out there in our community and how can we reach them and what would they like to see. And how can we make it so interesting that they'll want to come back?
Yeah. How about at the conservatory? How do you market the conservatory, by the way? How do you do that?
Through Michael Kilgore.
Oh, you just sit back and let him have to do all of that?
That's right.
Well, we
That's a
do
terrible
go out
thing.
into the schools as well. We go out and try to get into the community through our outreaches. We have an awful lot of activities and teachers going out into the schools, and then we talk about the conservatory there. A lot of our staff members go out as well into the community and talk about it. We have it, on television. Radio Disney has come out. We have a very active website, and eCenter. That's a really another big boom with the Performing Arts and the Conservatory is the internet.
I would say it's been a challenge because it was a slightly different audience. I mean, we know pretty well now how to attract audiences to the center because we have a huge database of people who've been there before, so we can work with that. And to some extent,
And we all get our emails.
That's good. That's good.
You do get those emails.
That's a good
Don't
thing.
forget to go to that. You forgot that. You forgot that. You forgot that.
And don't forget we have an on-site restaurant if you haven't made
Are
your
there any
dining
tickets
plans.
available to Wicked? Because I think I've got to get that for Christmas presents.
Depends on when this is airing.
Oh my
Depends
God!
on who you
all right.
know.
Tonight, can I get tickets? Okay.
Depends on when this is airing.
All right.
But I think we have been experimenting over the last year, and we're feeling a little more comfortable with the audience and knowing where they're coming from. We built up another database. Frankly, our best audience is kids telling kids and adults telling adults. Once they've had the experience of the conservatory, they come back and they bring their friends, and that's really the growth that we've had is having the materials ready before they leave one session's class. We're ready, telling what's coming up in the next session.
I don't know if this is somebody else who wants tickets to Wicked, but let's find out. You're on Speak Up.
Yes, I was just calling in with kind of a question more than a comment. Since you're on the artsy kind of conversation, I was just wondering if any of the four of you could tell me where these, well, I shouldn't say these, the homosexuals get the right to take over the rainbow as their national symbol or whatever.
Well, that's not a performing art. That's interesting.
Well, that was an interesting question. Do we not have a screener on tonight? But if we don't, can we get one going pretty soon? But I think anybody can use the rainbow flag, don't you? It was, huh?
It was green.
All right.
His phone number, though, we're going to call him back.
All right. Well, good. I think anybody can carry a rainbow flag, don't you?
I think they should. I don't really know what the caller was referring to, but
Why do homosexuals get to take over the rainbow flag? I believe was the question. Did I get that wrong? But in any event, getting back to, I think anybody can carry any flag. Where we were with the conservatory, I'm intrigued by this. 700,000 people a year come into the center. What percentage, if you know, come from very close by locally? Is Tampa, Hillsborough County, or are they coming from as far away as Sarasota and other places? I just wondered. What are these numbers, Michael?
They're coming from all over. I mean, Hillsborough County certainly is our primary market. We're right here. It's an easy drive, obviously, so it's
Right.
about 55%. But it depends on the show. Lion King, which I think Judy's referring to, we found out that when we had Lion King, we had people come from 48 states, 4 continents, and 4 countries to see Lion King.
Wow.
Someone said 51 states once, but I don't know who that was.
that was me.
Bring that show
Puerto
back.
Rico, which
So-
has been on the edge ever since.
So we track that a lot. And it just
Well,
depends
wait,
on
you're
the show.
going by maybe their credit card.
Well, we try to
receipt or something like that, and
well,
they could have been in town for.
Well, sometimes you have to mail them the tickets. I mean, we have a database,
okay.
so we try to keep track of that because it's helpful for us to know where we're placing our marketing and know where we're drawing from. But you mentioned Sarasota, Bradenton. Certainly, people come from there. They're the cultural coast, but sometimes when they want a little more culture, they come up to Tampa.
A little more culture. I'm sure. It's a good thing this isn't going on the air there, or we'd have another caller about who does he think he is, I'd like to say. But what about the counties above us even, like Polk and Lakeland,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
all that, I'm Polk and...
Yes, we market to all those areas. Hernando, they're obviously high growth areas, especially right there in the Wesley Chapel area. That's such a high growth area. Our second busiest zip code is in New Tampa. That's where the second largest number of people come from to the center of any of the zip codes is there. The first one, of course, is in South Tampa. It's 3369 or something. So those are our two busiest. But we draw from all over. We just look at the show. We look at how long it's going to be there. We look at whether it's on subscription or not on subscription. But Broadway's such a huge draw. We have one of the largest touring Broadway programs in the country, with about 11,000 subscribers. So that's a huge bonus, and we get then the largest shows. We get shows like Wicked, and Mamma Mia, and The Producers, and Radio City, and things like that. Usually, the first stop they make on the road is the first year is with us. When Wicked came to the Performing Arts Center, it's the first stop.
I wonder how they make that decision. You'll tell me in a minute, but we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back.
You know, because they die.
Can you handle the truth?
Hi, I'm Louise from Sesame Street. You are your child's first teacher, so make physical activity and eating right part of your routine. Not only will you feel great, but it'll make it easier for your children to stay healthy as they grow older.
Dance time!
It's the small steps you take to make a real difference for you and your children.
Oh, does Louise know what time it is now?
What time is it?
Nap time!
Can I help you, sir?
I found these over by the stairs.
Love handles. Lots of people lose them taking the stairs instead of the escalator.
Thank you.
Hi, we're back talking to Judi, Lisi, Wendy, Leigh, and Michael Kilgore from the Performing Arts Center about all the fine things that are going on and some of the plans they have for the future. You were talking about being the first on the Broadway tours.
Frequently,
How does that get decided? Tell me that.
Well,
Because you have so many people.
first I would say probably is Judy's contacts in New York. That's very helpful. Secondly, they look at...
She calls in her paisan. No, I'm kidding. All right.
Judy's been a force in the industry for a long time,
Yes,
so she
yes.
can't pick up the phone and make some calls. But so also our audience, so we have such great audiences. When producers want to bring a show in, they look at what the potential return is going to be, and they look at how many folks will come to a show in Tampa versus some other cities, and they have a good experience here. They love the facility, they love our production folks. I like to think that the marketing is relatively easy for them because we do most of the work. So I think all those factors figure in, and they've been very successful. A lot of these people have more than one show. If they're successful with one show, they'll come back in a year or two with their next show. So we try to make sure they leave Tampa and feel really good about us and about their experience, and then they'll bring another show back. So that's sort of how that happens. Some of it's routing, but typically the first year they're on the road, they will come to Tampa at some point during that year.
How do you accomplish all this, Judi?
Well, I think it's pretty much what Michael said. The producers put up a lot of money to put these shows on the road, the major producers in New York. So in the beginning of a tour, they want to take them to the markets in the country that are going to really have a big return for them. And it's like any other business. So they want to take it to places where they know we have a good infrastructure, they know we have good marketing, They know we have good audiences, and they want that first leg, what we call the first leg of the tour, to be very successful. So that's why we always get the big shows that are coming out, like Lion King and Wicked or Phantom. We were always in the first, what they call the first 32 weeks, which is the first leg of the tour. And it'll continue to do so. And we produced, and our market's just getting bigger and bigger. So we're very fortunate that, first of all, we have a state-of-the-art facility.
Certainly do.
And then we have a great market where people trust us and they're buying tickets. And I've got an amazing staff that really services the artists and the shows and our audiences. So that's really what makes up a winning experience.
Being in that first group, that puts us in the same group as what, maybe DC or San Francisco? Is that so?
Absolutely.
So what are the other cities that are in those?
The major cities, it would be Chicago, LA, Washington, Atlanta, Tampa, Denver. Those are usually those are the biggest markets.
And that's where the good shows will come right after
Yeah.
first.
So we're really up there with the big boys.
Well, we're and probably higher up than we are in the DMAs of the TV markets. Huh?
Yeah, it's actually pretty
Or just
funny. You know,
around
if
there.
people who have been in Tampa for a long time think that every performing arts center is like this. I mean, they sort of take it for granted until they go to another city and they discover that, oh, there's only one hall, or maybe two halls if they're lucky. And it doesn't get these shows. It's sort of a hometown complex. That people take what we have for granted, and you only have to go to other cities and go to those performing arts centers, and you find out that really what performing arts center is a jewel in downtown Tampa.
Right, and we're talking about Mersani, and we're not even talking about what do we call the little theater anymore?
Well, we have Morsani Hall, Carol Morsani Hall, which is our largest theater. That's
Right, which is
2,600
where more the
seats.
Broadway.
And then we have the Louise Ferguson Hall. That's 1,100 seats. And then we have the Jabe Theater, which is 300 seats. That's where we do all our cabaret or smaller
I
musicals.
love that little place,
oh,
too,
everybody
in the
loves that.
cabaret
It's
style.
just great. And then the Schimberg Playhouse,
Which was the
is
off-center,
150
right?
seat, and that's where Wendy did her work. And now we have Tico Hall, which is about 200 seats
Yeah,
in
about
the
200.
in the new conservatory. So it's a total of 5 theaters. And so we can accommodate anything.
And each venue is used for a slightly different kind of programming, and we were focusing on both opera and Broadway, which typically happens in Morsani, correct? So in the other, taking that a step further, what happens in the other theaters that's more conducive for those theaters?
Well, that's the beauty of having different size venues, is that you can really produce and present all the performing arts, but in just the right environment, because a one-person show very often might not be suitable in a 2,600 seat house, but might be just right for a 300
Like,
seat
for
house.
example, Seinfeld, which I didn't go see.
Seinfeld was in the 2,600 seat house.
Oh, and that was in the big one.
Yeah, because
course.
well,
4
that's
times.
Seinfeld.
Of
Four-
course.
four
And then you
sold-out
kept
shows.
adding shows, thankfully,
Oh, we
because my
did.
He was
my
great.
son and his wife had to go.
Oh, I know.
Had to go.
4 sold-out shows. But, for example, we started...
But Jon Stewart, when he was here, was he in there too?
He was in, yeah, he was there too.
I saw
Yeah.
him when he
The big
came. He was
comedians
great.
will put there. Bill Maher was there, and of course,
Right.
Amy. But we've started a new series called Club Jabe, which was actually Michael's idea, and this is for emerging artists, mostly singers, singer-songwriters. And we started that Monday nights in the Jabe. It's only a 300-seat house, but it's doing very well, and people are actually coming out Monday nights. And we say it's a good way to start the week.
That's great.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
did
It's
once a
really
month.
Are they all local?
They're actually, none of them are local. We're bringing in people from New York and Boston, singer-songwriter types. It has been very successful. We start at 6:30 with a little music mingle, and then the show starts at 7:30. There's no opening act, and usually people can get home by 10 or 10:30 on a Monday night. So it's a way to sort of extend the weekend and not have it be
And
too
you
painful.
set that up cabaret style too, right?
Yes, it's the same setup, but it's a very
That's so
intimate
great.
setting, and we're bringing in people who really where the words are important. So it's a great setting to hear that kind of thing.
I have to also add that 2 of them have done master classes for conservatory students. So that's another, advantage of having a conservatory attached to
Right.
Performing Arts Center, is that we have access to incredible artists, and we can offer that service to the students. And Christine Lavin had one of the first, that was the first concert.
That's right.
Had
Very
about
first one.
30 people doing a songwriting workshop. So it's really
That's
exciting. We took her
great.
over to see the rock school that we have. We have rock school with 14 rock bands, so she was able to actually watch that in action. So there's a real great synergy going on.
And pretty soon we'll probably see them on our channels, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm hoping that that's the next thing.
That'd be a good
And the other theaters now, what you're using them for?
Well, the
Schimberg
Schimberg
now.
Theater, we use that very much for community theater groups, but our resident company is Job Site Theater, and they do terrific work there. They produce about 6 shows a year, and it's a great theater company here in Tampa. All of them are part of the company. Some of them are writers, some of them are directors, some are actors. They all choose the material. It's like a collective. And then sometimes they'll act in it. Sometimes some of them will direct it. But it's what I look at Job Site and think that's how original theater companies actually started, where
Where you
different
played all
people
the
did different
positions?
things. Where you did things in repertory, where sometimes you directed, sometimes you acted. It's just in the last part of the 20th century that we've become so specialized in the world of theater that you're just an actor or just a director. But the original theater troops, they used
Reminds
to do
me of
everything.
stickball in New York.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true. But
I
theater
mean, no,
companies
because
usually, that's what they
even
like, yeah.
even someone my age, we played all the positions till the team decided we were better at one than the other, or
And
software.
that
You know,
happens
isn't
too,
that
that you
true?
find that you're better.
just find
But you
out-
still can do the other if you have
Right,
to.
if you need to, you can do
Yeah.
the other thing, but you do find out that you can get a perspective from the other side. That makes you better at what you do,
It
though,
makes
doesn't
you
it?
much better. If you've always been acting and then you go on the other side and you're directing, you will become a better actor because you know now what that director is looking for. Or for directors acting, he'll know what the director has to or she has to deal with. So you do become better at everything.
And, okay, did we cover them all now, or we're missing?
TICO.
The TICO.
The
The
TICO now,
TICO
what's
Hall.
happening there? Is that for students just?
It's curriculum driven, but we also bring in some other acts. And we realized recently that dance looks beautiful in that theater, so that's something we're going to pursue a little bit more. It's a very nice space it's a true black box theater, really good size. It's
haven't-
like the Jabe, only without the tables in it. So
Let's see what we get this time.
okay, I can't.
You're on
wait.
Speak Up. Do I have the wrong telephone? This belongs on somebody else's show, I think. Yes, let's go to break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. What's happening?
Glucose plus oxygen equals carbon dioxide.
I'd like to pass them back to you now.
And skeletal anatomy notes for Chem Lab Wednesday, Chem 2.
She's got the drive, the energy, the heart, and the talent.
Pre-med.
But she wouldn't be here without your help. Please support the United Negro College Fund, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Let's play a game. Let's pretend you own an apartment building and I want to rent from you. I make a good salary, have a good credit history. Would you rent your place to me? How about now? Do you still like me? What if I have an accent or a disability? What if I'm a single parent? Would you steer me away? would you close the door? Would you?
The Fair Housing Act protects your right to live where you want. If you think you've been discriminated against, call us.
We're back talking to the Performing Arts Center folks about what's going on down at the Performing Arts Center. And we're happy for you to call, except the fella that just called a little while ago, don't call again. Please find something else to do tonight. Okay, so, all right, now we were at what you're doing with the smaller theater, this Tico Hall. And you're using it for the students that are taking the classes?
Generally, it's a classroom. 10 weeks, the classes go in 10-week sessions, and so 10 weeks, 3 times a year, it's a classroom. So there's rock school in there, the youth orchestra is in there rehearsing, there's an acting class in there. So it's very active as a classroom right now.
Now, are you part of this strategic plan that we just got involved with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Where are you going with this strategic? Where are we going to see you in 5 years?
Well, we're, more classes and more activities. I also have to say that the other side of the education department, we keep talking about the conservatory, but there's an awful lot that's going on, that has been going on for many years, probably 10, 15 years since the center's been open. There are a lot of activities on school time series. There's children, hundreds of thousands of kids come through the Performing Arts Center every day throughout the school year. We have 26
We used to call those
titles.
field trips when I was in school, but they're on school time.
On school time shows now.
They're called?
On school time.
The field trips.
They come to see performances
on school time. And
So-
it's not a field trip?
No, they
It
are.
is a
They
field
are
trip.
They're field trips,
That's
but
what I
new
called
name,
it.
not
New
called.
name.
Definitely field trips, and we have.
What did they do then? They do the backstage tour?
They actually come to see performances. There are curriculum connectors. It's very important so that the teachers know they're going to get something that will help them with their testing. But they'll see various performances that have those connectors, and it's just live performance, but it's connected to their standards.
Give me an example of that, of a connector.
Well, we have one called like Math Magic, and it's this wonderful, he's kind of a circus vaudevillian performer, and he does this wonderful act, but he shows how it relates to math. And it's fascinating, and the kids love it because he's so funny and charming, and yet they learn something as they go along. And with FCATs, it's very important that's why we have to have them connect to what the teachers are trying to teach. I also would like just for them to come in and see beautiful and wonderful art that maybe isn't directly connected to the curriculum, and we have some of that. But our teachers are under such pressure that we want to make sure we make it easy for them to help.
So you have to go back to the basics besides the art, what used to be, taught in school.
Many of our performances are also books, so they just went to see Stone Soup, and so we have a program called From Page to Stage where they can actually read the book. As a matter of fact, my child Jillian, they read 2 versions of Stone Soup, then came to see the play, and then they got to compare it. We also have a program where they can actually be judged. The essays, Michael's one of our judges, and they can read. We have winners that come on stage to get a copy of the book of the play that they're going to see. So there's a whole cycle there that goes on where they can broaden and deepen their experience at the Performing Arts Center as well.
And this is really all part of introducing those children to the arts at a very early age. Their parents may or may not bring them to the theater, but their teachers have. And we're hoping that it will not be such a strange, foreign, threatening place in 2 or 3 years when they start thinking about something they want to do. Maybe they'll ask their parents to come back and see something different. It's all part. It's sort of an evolution through our system, basically, starting at a very early age to the point where maybe in 15 or 20 years they're bringing their own children back to the Performing Arts Center.
We start them actually. We have what's called our We Folk series, and it's for tots. And we say it's where wiggling is allowed. We have it in our rehearsal hall, and it's little teeny people, but the performers are really present these shows, particularly for little people, so that they can understand it. It's very interactive. They can get up, they can walk
You're
around.
talking about children under 5?
Yeah,
3 to 5. 3 to 5.
No kidding.
So we start We Folk, and then we go to our Kid Time series, and then we have the field trips. And then we have a lot of outreach in the community as well, maybe Wendy.
For example, all of the Broadway shows have an educational component when they come into town. Just recently, for example, with Annie, we did an incredible outreach. We had 2 teachers go out to teach a songwriting workshop to Metropolitan Ministries, which are homeless children, but they actually have a charter school there.
Right.
So they went out, taught them that. They came to see the show. and got to sing and perform the songs there that they learned in their classroom, and actually got to meet the cast afterwards. They got to meet the dog. It was a meet and greet with Sandy, the dog, and they actually brought the dog over to Metropolitan Ministries the following day after
How
the show.
nice is that?
Incredible. It's
a
just
perfect
heartwarming.
show because, you know, it's the children at Metropolitan Industries have so many challenges in their life, and so do the children in Annie. They're all orphans, and so and Annie's all about hope.
That's true.
You know, and so they saw people that are young people that are going through challenges, as life challenges, but they come out with hope. You know, and I just thought it was just the most wonderful thing, and we do that for almost every single show where we have an educational component with it as
We
well.
also have school partners. We have and organizations. We have 7 schools and partners and organizations that we partner with, which means we'll go out at least 3 times throughout the school year to bring art to them, and or do a residency with one of our national artists. So we have that kind of connection. In addition, our conservatory teachers go out into the schools and do informal introductory arts workshops. So.
And you're still doing those backstage tours for like anybody, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's
Wednesday-
Wednesday and
Wednesdays and
Saturday.
Saturdays, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, every
What
Wednesday.
is it?
Wednesdays and Saturdays at 10 o'clock are by appointment. You can call and we'll set something up. If you have a group, we can do special groups.
And is that still popular? I mean, do people?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing, and especially we have like little Girl Scouts who are working on their theater badge, and so we'll have Girl Scouts who come or people who are just interested. You know, people who travel around the world, they're always interested in seeing. Who love theater, they love to go on theater tours, and so we'll always get some tourists, you know, who are interested in seeing, and it's a great
they
tour.
do?
Oh yeah,
As
yeah.
part of their, let's go see the museum and the aquarium?
Absolutely, yeah.
So from out of town, I never even thought
Well,
of that
it's a
one.
pretty spectacular place, and
Well, certainly, yeah.
and when it's
It's
the only
amazing
time,
to be backstage there,
Yeah.
too.
Well, that's
Just
it.
an
Yeah.
amazement.
people never see
There's
what
like,
it's
oh
like
my
to be backstage.
God, all of this.
And
What,
when
you
it's
know.
really hopping, it's
Ah,
really, you know,
yeah.
it's so exciting to walk through the dance recitals, the little kids in tutus next to the cast of Les Mis or something. You know, it's just remarkable to see the diversity backstage is reflected as well as on stage. So it's
And
really
standing on those stages and looking out at the audience is a very, very unique experience for people.
I will say.
Yeah, it really
It
is pretty
is.
breathtaking.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah, yeah. So that we always get some people. Sometimes the groups are larger, sometimes less.
Why don't you share with the people that are watching that how you came upon running this center in the first place? Because you started out in dance, correct? Or
No, I started
And then-
actually out as a performer, as a singer.
as a singer?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I did musical theater and opera, some cabaret. And those are the things I specialize in, actually.
I like them, and everybody does.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Broadway opera and cabaret. But in addition, we also do dance and symphonic music. We're at the home of the Florida Orchestra, of course. And, and then.
But you, how did you
but-
go back to you? I'm going to ask Wendy, too. And poor Michael, I don't know what he's going to tell me. But
Well,
how you got there? How you got there?
I
Yeah.
started actually, as I said, as a singer. My story's too long. I can't go into the whole thing.
Oh, wait, give me the edited version.
Okay. Well, that's really too long. But I just started as a performer, and when I was touring, when my children were small, I could tour with them. But when they got a little older, you know, it got to be too hard. So I settled in, and I started directing. I started going on the other side of the theater where I can be in one spot.
Right.
And then I became the artistic director of one theater, and then a managing director of a larger theater. I just got to be, and so I did most of my work on the other side of the stage, and I found it equally fulfilling, and I still do. As a matter of fact, when I was a performer, I never thought I wanted to do anything else but be a performer. And I found out that I really enjoy being able to be responsible for what happens, even much more than performing. And then watching people watch the shows and seeing what they get out of it is tremendously fulfilling. So I've been very fortunate.
So, yeah, you really have gone around the whole 360.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I understand artists too, because I've been one, and so I think that also.
And how difficult is it to deal with artists? Is it as difficult as,
You know,
or do you have? Is it easy as pie, and we all hear these things?
You know, they have a hard job, artists do. It's pretty hard to go out on the stage and
Every
you're
night.
there and totally by yourself having to do the best you can possibly do. That's a lot of pressure. And I feel that, and in our country particularly, our artists don't have a stable career, a stable profession. They go from one job to the next job. They have problems getting health care. It's pretty hard to be an artist. You have to tour all the time to find the work, even if you're a big artist. So, we're so fortunate to have artists. Think of what our life would be without artists, but artists have a very, very tough road. And I'm very simpatico with artists.
So even if some people might say, well, they're difficult, you can almost understand why.
Well, if every night I look at our opera singers, the pressure of going out on that stage and having to be perfect, think of what their day is like. All they're thinking about is preparing for that night. Their whole life is dedicated to those 3 hours on stage. That's really, really dedication. So you have to couch them and surround them and make things. I like to make things as easy as we can for them. And if they pout or have a bad day, I would too if I had that kind of constant pressure. It's not easy. And sometimes we don't see that part of it. If you're not an artist, the curtain goes up and everything's beautiful at the ballet. But what it took to get there and what they have to do to keep themselves there, it's really, really difficult.
That's true enough for like any even minor event.
That's
a
right.
major event like that with so
right.
many players involved. How did you come up through this? I was recollecting, what was the name of the theater?
The Loft Theater.
The Loft Theater on Fowler there by the 22nd and Fowler?
15th and Fletcher.
15th
Yeah.
and Fletcher.
Yeah.
Close enough. 15th and Fletcher, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, how did you start off, Wendy, with all that?
Well, I think it started, I have to go back to the early days of being, in high school drama and wanting to be an actress. And I have a very similar story as Judi, where I wanted to be an actress. It started off that was my introduction to the journey. But I got into producing through being a high school drama teacher. So I started doing that and enjoyed putting the play together and learned how to direct, and then realized I wanted to learn a lot more about it. And went from teaching at Hillsborough High to opening that theater up, and really, again, the same story where I really enjoyed the gift of being able to let other people have their time on stage and being able to provide those opportunities and really seeing that and being able to create.
And didn't you have some really off-the-wall stuff
I had
up
some
there?
wild stuff.
You had I was always there.
You had
but
impeccable
you didn't know me,
taste.
but I was always there. Michael, how about you?
I don't think my story is nearly that interesting, but I worked in journalism for 18 years.
Yeah.
And then I went to marketing. In fact, when I was in journalism, I was the features editor of the Tribune, and in 1987, we put out a 72-page section talking about the opening of this beautiful facility.
Yep.
So I was the editor of that section. I did marketing for 10 years, and then Judi called and asked me if I wanted to do this.
I didn't ask. I begged. Michael was also on our board for many years.
I was on the board of trustees of the center, and I chaired the marketing committee as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. And everyone who applies says they love the arts, but I did love the arts. And I was going to New York to see shows and coming to see a lot of things at the center. And Judi did ask or beg, but mostly ask. And nobody says no to Judi.
Yeah. No, not after I begged. My knees had calluses. But, I'll tell you, we have such talented people here in Tampa. I mean, to have people at this quality and have a commitment to the community, which is really, really, really wonderful.
How many people do you employ at the center now?
Full-time, we have about 120.
My goodness.
And part-time, we can go up to 200 and 300 when we have all the stagehands putting in a show, and all of our food and beverage people, all of our teachers, our part-time teachers. It's a tremendous.
That doesn't include all the volunteers, the
I
wonderful
was just going
volunteers.
to say that. We have 800 volunteers.
My goodness, is it
there.
that?
Yeah, it's tremendous. Now, they don't all work at the same time, but that's our pool of 800. And many of them have been there from when the center opened in 1987. And they're very, very dedicated.
This hour is like going very quickly, and I just got a signal that we had like 3 or 4 minutes left. So what I want to do is make sure that we mention some of the things that you think people don't know about. And we got a couple of minutes to make sure that they get to know about them. And you mentioned so many programs, all kinds of things.
I could mention 2 things, I think. One is that we do have on-site dining. We have 2 restaurants. One is called Maestro's. That's a Maestro's restaurant right upstairs. Mm-hmm. The other is Maestro's Cafe in Carol Morsani lobby. A lot of people don't know that. They sort of see it, but don't know you can make reservations at the restaurant and don't need reservations downstairs. And our website I think we talked about the website during one of the breaks, and it's tbpac.org. It's Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center, tbpac.org, which is the best way to find out what we have going on, because we do have so much. It's very difficult. People sometimes say, well, I didn't know about it. Well, it's hard for me to know everything people want, but if you go there, you can search out what you want. It's a better technique because you get just what you want.
And you can click on opera on that webpage and the Patel Conservatory and find both of those sites as well.
Exactly. So we have 3 sites.
Okay. Oh, you have 3 sites now. All right.
We also have the Spanish, it's all done in Spanish as well. Everything on our website is also done in Espanol.
It's a transcreation in Spanish.
When did you start doing it? We're trying to work on
It's
that
been
right
about,
here.
it's probably about a year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really, really
It was
good.
just before the Arte Festival a year ago.
That's very good. Anything else? Because like I said,
Just,
just a
that
minute.
most of the classes you don't need to audition for, so anybody can come. They're access, so and it's a very simple commitment. It's a 10-week commitment, so I say give it a try. Both if it's a child, if it's your child, or you want to rediscover the arts.
And summer.
And summer, awesome summer camps, the best in town.
1 day, half day, multiple weeks. It's really kind of a buffet.
And there's no experience like the live performing arts. Even if people have not tried it before, they should try it. And we have tickets at every level. You know, we have tickets from $5 to $100 for any particular show. And we also have tickets for the underserved that we do through the Arts Council and through many different agencies.
That's a terrific thing.
Yeah,
Make
I
sure
think we
that
have
everybody...
about 8,000 tickets a year that we distribute.
A year?
And scholarships available for
the
the conservatory as well.
Yeah.
So people should get in touch. I really appreciate that the 3 of you came down here to talk about this, and I hope you'll come back and tell us things that are going on as they're going on. And I invite you to also let our producers know about some of the things going on at the conservatory that they might want to go down and, or we could outreach, we could tape maybe some of these kids so that they can see themselves on television. This is your community channel, belongs to everybody. We were pretty responsive to anybody asking us to come down and tape something, and these kids maybe if they saw themselves on TV, or the adults, I'd love to do the 78-year-old stand-up comedian. I think that would be, I think she'd probably have a better perspective than a lot of people do. So I hope everybody will have a great holiday and tune in next time. And thanks for tuning in today. Thanks all of you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Louise.